I was born into a little house way out in what used to be the country. We had a horse pasture in our backyard and a little dirt road out front. Although it's been bought out now and made into fancy little townhouses, it used to be a quaint little place. Quiet, safe, or so we thought. I have two older sisters. The oldest, Christy, is 7 years older than me and now 28. The next, Amanda, is 4 years older than me and now almost 25. Growing up with our fair share of family issues, it's needless to say that we were instantly best friends. Granted that the two of them used to toss me in sheets when I was a baby for fun, but that's a story for another day. On April 17th, 1995, my cousin decided to take his little brother along with my sister on a ride on his new moped. So she hopped on the back and held on tight for what she thought would be a fun, safe ride. But then the car came. A lady who had been drinking a bit too much was lost and came speeding down our little dirt road. My oldest cousin suffered some head trauma, but had no long-term damage. My other cousin broke his leg. My sister, however, was thrown from the bike and had to be life-flighted to Duke Hospital, where the doctor saw a problem with stitching back together her almost completely detached leg. Infection was spreading and there was too much dirt and gravel to save it. That day, a 6-year-old lost a part of her that would change her life forever. A series of surgeries every year, dozens of prosthetic legs that come in parts that are all sold separately, thousands of dollars, and sacrifice after sacrifice, for 25 years and many more to come. I watched my sister on trips to the beach in which she couldn't swim or do anything that the other kids were doing because waterproof legs were too expensive. I watched her slowly gain weight over the years because not having the fancy athletic leg made it hard for her to exercise. I see a girl, a woman, who never in her life has worn a flip-flop or a high heel because her prosthetic foot doesn't flex or have a split in the toes. My sister was suffering health disparities because of where she stood on the social ladder. My entire life, I've watched the strongest woman deal with hundreds of things and never whine a bit. The sick role didn't exist to her. She never used the leg card. She wouldn't even show her leg to the people in charge of roller coasters to get us to the top of the line, even when we asked her to. I can stand in line just fine. Why would I skip to the front? She never complained. So, of course, it's only normal for her sisters to complain for her. The reason Amanda couldn't have those special kind of legs was initially because her insurance wouldn't cover it. Why? Because insurance gives coverage based on what the company views as necessary or elective. Technically, she didn't need those things to survive, but what makes something a necessity? People receive waterproof legs and flexed feet all the time because they are considered necessary. So why are they considered elective for my sister? And of course, when you ask, no one ever has an answer. Everyone infantilizes you, making you feel inferior and dumb. They think you won't understand, so they just don't bother explaining anything at all. So why did my sister never gain access to the types of prosthetics that she needed growing up? Well, it's like any other kind of medicine. Who gets the transplant when there's only one organ? Who gets the nose job for free because it's needed for medical reasons? And who has to pay for it because it's simply cosmetic? If you can persuade the doctor into thinking that what you want is a necessity, then you get it covered. However, it seems impossible to those of us who aren't at the top of the social ladder. Therefore, it's determined by our social worth. Where we stand in our society. If you're a wealthy Olympian in training, you're going to get the leg or whatever you need. But if you're a small town girl from Burlington, North Carolina, your needs aren't so important. Your social worth is determined by various amount of things: your race, age, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, etc. But what exactly makes one's social worth better or worse than someone else's? The higher one's social worth is, the more likely the insurance companies and the healthcare providers are going to view the intervention as a necessity. However, the lower your social worth is, the more likely they're going to see the intervention as elective and aren't going to offer you care. The exact same condition, not having a leg, the exact same intervention, the prosthetic, but only one is going to get it. Why is social worth what determines who gets care and who doesn't? Now, I know what you're thinking, Colton. There's a room somewhere full of terrible people planning all of this out. That's not the case. Our society just has a political economy. It's structured in a way to keep the poor poor because we need the poor. We need people to work the blue-collar jobs, and we need poor people to make sure that those jobs stay around. And as the law of inverse coverage says, the more you actually need health care, the less likely you're going to get it. And if you do get it, the more likely you're going to pay for it. How does this make sense at all? The poor get charged more when they can't afford it, and the wealthy pay little when they can afford more than anyone. Just another way our society keeps us in line. So should healthcare be considered a human right? Should it be necessary and mandatory for every single civilian to have it? Well, I'm not sure about all that. But all I know is that no 6-year-old should have to sacrifice a happy, normal life because she wasn't born into a high-class, wealthy family. and that social worth should not be what determines who gets what in this life.